My brother is 5 years older than I am. Growing up, everyone said he was the smart one. He loved books, especially anything about engineering. While other children spent their afternoons playing football, he was always taking apart old radios or trying to fix broken fans that people had thrown away. He used to tell me, "One day, I'll build machines that make people's lives easier." I believed him. Our parents didn't have much money, but they never stopped encouraging us to dream. My father worked long hours as a bus driver, and my mother sold food in front of our house. They did everything they could to keep us in school. When my brother finished high school, he was accepted into a university to study engineering. It was the happiest day our family had seen in years. My mother cried and my father couldn't stop smiling. For the first time, it felt like all their hard work was finally paying off. A week later, everything changed. My father was involved in an accident at work. He survived, but the injuries meant he couldn't return to his job. Almost overnight, our family lost its only steady source of income. The little savings my parents had disappeared into hospital bills, medicine, and rent. University suddenly became the last thing anyone could afford. I was still too young to understand what all of it meant. But I remember looking at my brother one evening. He sat quietly on the front step, staring at the admission letter he worked so hard for. He folded it carefully, put it back into the envelope and never spoke about university again. The next morning, I woke up expecting my brother to leave for school. Instead, he left the house before sunrise with a small backpack and a lunchbox my mother had packed for him. At first, I thought he had found a temporary job while waiting for things to get better. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Every morning, he left before everyone else and came home long after dark. He was always tired, but never complained. Whenever I asked him when he was going to start university, he would smile and say, "There's no rush, I'll go when the time is right." I believed him because I was only a child. Years later, I found out he had never deferred his admission. The money my parents had managed to save for his education didn't go to university anymore. It kept food on our table. It paid my father's medical bills. And when I was old enough to go to high school, it paid my school fees too. Life slowly became normal again, at least for me. I finished high school with good grades and was offered admission to the same university my brother had once dreamed of attending. When I rushed home with the admission letter, I expected everyone to celebrate. Instead, my brother quietly asked to see it. He read it from beginning to the end, smiled and handed it back to me. "I'm proud of you," he said. That evening, I overheard my parents talking in their room. "We can't afford it," my mother whispered. "There has to be another way," my father replied. I lay awake that night pretending not to hear them. The next morning, I walked into the living room and told my parents I wasn't going anymore. "I'll work for a year," I said. "Then I'll save enough to pay my school fees myself." Before either of them could respond, my brother spoke. "No," he said firmly. "You're going." I looked at him in confusion. "We don't have the money," I replied. He smiled. "Leave that part to me." At the time, I had no idea what he meant. I simply thanked him and trusted that, somehow, he would find a way. I left for university a few months later. My brother was the one that took me there. He carried my box to the hostel, helped me make my bed, and kept reminding me to call home whenever I had the chance. Before he left, reached into his pocket and handed me some money. It isn't much, he said with a smile, but it should help you settle in. I wanted to refuse because I knew he worked for every penny. He insisted. Just promise me one thing, he said. Study hard and don't waste this opportunity. I nodded. Over the next 4 years, he never missed a semester. Whenever my school fees were due, they were paid. Whenever I called to say I was running out of money, he somehow found a way to send me something. I never asked how. I simply assumed things had gotten better for him. It wasn't until the day I graduated that I discovered the truth. After the convocation ceremony, I couldn't find my brother anywhere. I checked the crowd, called his phone twice, but there was no answer. Just as I was about to leave, my mother walked over and handed me a small envelope. He asked me to give you this after you graduated, she said. I opened it. Inside was a short letter. I'm sorry I couldn't stay. Today isn't about me. It's your day, and you've earned every bit of it. I'm proud of the man you've become. As I reached the end of the letter, my eyes were filled with tears. There was one more paragraph. There's something you never knew. The money that paid for your education wasn't a scholarship. It wasn't from our parents either. I worked 2 jobs for years because I wanted you to have the chance I couldn't. I looked at my mother. She was already crying. I wanted to tell you, she said softly. But he made me promise not to. He didn't want you to feel guilty. He only wanted you to finish school. In that moment, every late night, every tired smile, and every time he told me not to worry about money suddenly made sense. I couldn't hold my tears anymore. I folded the letter and asked my mother where my brother had gone. She smiled. He said he had to get back to work. I looked around the campus one last time before running towards the car park. Just as I reached the entrance, I saw him standing beside an old bus, waiting for a ride home. I called his name. He turned around with the same smile he has always worn. Before he could say anything, I hugged him. For a long time, neither of us spoke. When I finally stepped back, I looked at him and said, I'm standing here today because you gave up your dream for mine. He shook his head. No, he replied softly. I'm standing here because one person in this family had to keep dreaming. I'm just glad it was you. Years have passed since that day. Today, whenever people congratulate me for my success, I always think of my brother. Because behind every achievement of mine, there's a dream he quietly laid down so I could keep mine alive.